that.
But are we feeling
Always
better
blowing.
this week than last week? Last week was pretty low, I think.
Well, let's just say this. I don't know what Chantal pulled this week. I'm guessing 45 stories about Kamala Harris. But I know it was not easy to find assholes.
Okay.
And you have 4 good lists.
I do feel like mine may just be mediocre good, but
My
4 good things that made me feel good.
For the first time, my prediction came true. I said last week that we were going to feel better this week, and we do. Everyone I know feels better this week, except for maybe
It
Dan.
had to happen sometime.
Had to
There
happen.
is there's something in the air.
There's
I don't know if
happiness
it's that
going around.
DEI or what. There's a
Well,
little bit of DEI in the air.
Kinda, sorta.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Damien, get us started with
Ooh.
stories.
I won't without the music. There we go. I mean, look. First of all, I gotta say this. It was one of the happier moments of my recent life. I was at a they call it a camp. It was way up in Maine. It was just at least an hour from anyone else.
From
No
civilization.
phones, no cell phone coverage, no Wi-Fi. And then Sunday, the owner of the place comes and tell us that Biden has announced he's stepping down. And first of all, yes,
Wow.
I was happy. I love Joe Biden, actually. I think he's the most consequential and important president of my lifetime. Honestly, I really honestly believe this, but I'm not going to go into that now. But what I was most happy about was that I got to hear news the old-fashioned way, and I didn't have to hear 17,000
What a
annoying
treat.
opinions about how I should think about the news. I got to sit there and just talk about it with people for a while and actually contemplate what I thought about it, and I loved it. I guess I also loved it because I'm also really excited by the woman who was running for president, and just excited in general. But I just love getting news that way. So that's my first story of the week anyway. It doesn't really.
wait.
Yeah.
Is the story that
Me,
you got told
I got
by
to
a
go
guy-
away. That after Ari and Matt go to every country on earth, I finally went somewhere. Of course, I went to Maine, but
you
whatever.
went in Maine to
It's
a
a
patch
large
of
state.
grass. in
Look, I
Maine.
had a canoe and a pond. What more do I really need? I mean, okay,
I
but
mean,
here's
I live on
yeah.
a pond with a canoe, so
Okay, there you go. But here's how I entered this story, and I know that Chantal in her Gen Z section is going to cover this in much more depth. But Harris is not only running for president, but she's joining TikTok.
ooh.
Remember, Biden, the old man, tried to ban TikTok, which we know is never really going to happen. But I just thought it was interesting that she's kind of like, she's joining TikTok.
Trump
Yeah, so-
wanted to
but-
ban TikTok too. Kamala's
But
going to
no,
ban
but he
TikTok
changed
also.
his mind.
Yeah, but
Did she?
Kamala, no. But when she is president, someone's going to hand her the intel
We're
that
gonna let
shows
Chantal
like
cover this.
how
Chantal, you have
much
more to say about this?
TikTok is a national security problem.
Chantal, you have more
I
to say
do. I
about
have a
this,
lot
right?
of say.
All right, let's just skip that. My story
right,
of the
skip
week,
it.
I
my
do.
first story of the week is, of course, Biden is stepping down, and we may have a not only a woman, but
And not May. We
half
will.
half Indian, half black. This is competing with Mexico's president, Claudia Sheinbaum. I mean, right?
Finally, we can catch up to Mexico.
Yeah. So there you go. That's the first story of the week. Second story of the week, right in our wheelhouse, the secret battle for the future of the Murdoch Empire.
I like
Who
that.
here has watched? Did anyone watch Succession here?
I have not.
I've watched the first season.
Kind of sad. What a sad group of people. It's the only show
That's
about
why I
corporate
stopped
governance. It's probably one of the best shows ever, and it's all about corporate governance. And yeah, I'm the only one who watched it. But what's amazing is how much it parallels that show. But what we're learning from the New York Times essentially is that Rupert Murdoch is moving secretly to change his trust, which when he dies, and I think he's what, 241 years old, I think. I don't know. I
he
don't-
and Trump are the same age, aren't they?
The trust, as it originally stands, is supposed to hand out equal shares to his 4 children, Prudence, Lachlan, James, and Elizabeth. So 25% shares, 25% voting power over the whole Fox empire. That includes News Corp, Fox Corp, right? I think it's two
Yeah, it's all the
companies that we cover in our
companies,
database. But now he wants to give it all to Lachlan, who is who is the currently still the chair of News Corp, and is he still the chair and CEO of Fox, I believe?
I think so. Yeah.
I should look
all
at our
the
data.
voting power or all
The
the
trust
money.
voting power.
Just
Oh,
everything,
yes.
right? Just everything. He wants to give him majority control of the whole
Wow, talk
Fox
about
empire.
favorites.
Lachlan, the New York Times is reporting that Lachlan was the only one who showed up to Rupert's latest marriage, which just happened.
Oh.
His fifth wife. And I guess why this is important is because Rupert is scared that the other three children are not, disgusting, horrible conservatives. And
Yeah,
only
that's true.
only
That's right.
Lachlan is, and only Lachlan will further the horrible conservative empire. So, I don't know. This is a great corporate governance battle unfolding before our eyes. So this is right up our wheelhouse. So I had to pick this story.
I mean,
Matt sighs.
I just like like the Murdoch Empire
Yeah.
thing. I just can't care that much. Like I know it's like the most watched thing, and it's basically between that and social media is the single source of terrible information
Uh-huh.
and
Seems pretty
divisiveness
significant.
but it was. Did we ever think that Rupert Murdoch was going to cede control to anyone but some horrible, conservative asshole that was his family?
But
Well-
which is why him dying and other children in his family, like one of them includes a climate change activist.
Yes. Well,
the real
his,
story is that
his
this is
wife
another
is.
dual class company. This is another company where investors
another media
don't
company.
get to say
Yeah.
anything
Mhm.
about what happens with the company that they own, right? That's the story here. These are uninvestable assets. So whatever the Murdochs do and the drama is just the drama. The real thing is it's an uninvestable asset.
Ooh. All right. What
Uh,
else?
I will say this: that currently, Fox Corporation, in our data, Lachlan Murdoch controls 75% of influence. So I don't even know.
Yikes.
We're making the assumption that if the trust stands as it is, that he'll only control 25% of the empire. So we're making the assumption that the siblings will vote against him, but we don't know that that's true. They might still vote for the family and still. That was part of the drama of succession, that even though they all hated their horrible conservative father, who was basically Rupert Murdoch, they still did things in the family way, voted with the family, because everyone just loved the power and money,
'Cause
and
it's
they
the
didn't.
family.
So even
Yeah.
though they were liberal
It's a
and were
mafia.
angry at the conservative messaging, they didn't care. It was power, it was money. So
It's
anyway,
a conservative Cosa Nostra.
All
moving
right, what
on.
else you got?
The third, I mean, these are some big stories to me, at least. The third story is mind bending. I don't know. I read this earlier and I can't believe what I'm about to say. Listen to this. The Justice Department submitted an agreement with Boeing on Wednesday, in which the aerospace giant will plead guilty.
Yeah.
But listen to what they're pleading guilty to. Shut up, audience.
Guilty. No, just let the audience have its moment. Someone's
Pleading
guilty
guilty.
of something.
To a fraud charge. A fraud charge for
frauds.
misleading U.S. regulators who approved the 737 MAX jetliner before two of the planes crashed, killing 346 people. This is crazy. I mean, I'm sorry. This is just my mind is just blown by this. Boeing pleading guilty to fraud.
Can they be convicted of murder now?
Why?
Can
But
we
why
just call
couldn't
them
they?
murderers?
Why couldn't they? So part of the deal, Boeing admitted that through its employees, it made an agreement by dishonest means to defraud the FAA. So the deal calls for, and this is the important part for us, the appointment of an independent compliance monitor. Matt,
What was that?
we were joking before the show that the current state of corporate governance, the current state of the U.S. board, which is supposed to provide independent oversight of company management, it basically needs its own board now.
Yes, that's correct.
It needs a board. It needs an independent board to oversee it, right? And that's what this deal is calling for. It's basically calling for an actual set of independent monitors to look over Boeing.
Well, the reason why we said that is so we created. I mean, this show is brought to you by Free Flow Analytics. freeflowanalytics.com. You can go sign up with an email account, look up every single director that's active in the world
I use it
today,
every
and-
day. No joke.
and you can find out how they perform and how powerful they are. But our data set includes who they're connected to, what their knowledge is. We have estimates for everything. And we can effectively measure how good these people are. But we were talking about this because we are trying to sell this data and consulting around the data to the people that we basically would be disrupting, right? Like the people who vote and the people who are on boards. So we realized that if we wanted the data to get used the way it should, we need another board in between the investors and the board that could look at the data and say, oh, well, this is what you should be doing because you are all compromised, right? Like we wouldn't have the Kimball Musk gets reelected problem if you had an independent board in between voting on whether Kimball Musk should be elected because they actually were using data. It is a little bit bananas, but I am dubious that Boeing's going to get an actual, who's the independent compliance monitor?
That's a great question. But to me, this serves as one of the greatest, I don't know, the greatest signs, the greatest statements that what we do is important because we have been screaming about Boeing forever, and the government essentially is telling them, is ordering them to have an independent monitor, basically what we've been saying, right?
Yeah,
They
that's
need
right.
a chaperone.
There are real
They need a
consequences to
chaperone,
this.
yeah.
I mean, what we hope for all the corporations that we yell about, we don't want the consequences to be actual death of 346 people. But again, this is a great, a great example, maybe the best example ever of why this stuff is important.
It does seem to take death in order for anyone
People
to pay attention now.
Well,
All right.
that's crazy because this didn't happen directly following that, right?
Oh, this is 10 years. Yeah,
This
6,
is-
7 years later. 6, 7 years later.
Like, is this because of the recent investigation because of the door plug, or is it the investigate on? No, because the investigation from 2018 and 2019 when the planes fell out of the sky, that was done.
But there was the investigation of how the planes fell out of the sky, and then there was the ongoing investigation about what they told regulators in advance of these things happening. And effectively what they've done is lie to regulators for years. For years, they've lied to regulators.
Culture.
And when you look at it, $244 million is how much they paid, right?
That's
So-
the fine. 3 years of probation and $243 million fine.
I didn't look up these numbers, but in 6
Nothing,
years, at an average, total a summary compensation of $20 million a year for Dave Calhoun, you're talking about he made 120. He can almost pay this fine with his salary over those 6 years, but he's not going to. The shareholders are paying this fine. The shareholders, the people who own the company, pay the fine. The people who run the company keep their jobs and the money. How is that a thing?
Let's not forget that Calhoun is still CEO. Still, despite promising all of us that he'd leave, he's still there. He's still waiting.
Correct.
That's the third big story, and finally the fourth story. I just had to cover this one because it made me laugh. Last week I covered CrowdStrike, how their CEO was deeply sorry about everything.
Yeah, he
because-
was very sorry.
Deeply sorry.
Because
Yep.
basically he was doing his best to kind of help shut down the internet, right? Like it affected air travel, banks, 911, so many important things
Yeah, it was
that
great.
make
It was
right. It
super.
was a very big meltdown last Friday. They called it one of the biggest corporate snow days ever because a lot of workers couldn't go to work. They couldn't do their jobs. So CrowdStrike, this is just silly. I don't even know how this is real. CrowdStrike is facing new backlash after giving staff and firms they work with a $10 Uber Eats voucher to say sorry for its global IT outage, right? And this is an actual quote from CrowdStrike to these people. To express our gratitude, your next cup of coffee or late night snack is on us.
Oh,
Now,
yeah, finally.
Here's
Well, this is a double win for the workers, right?
Yeah, because
Snow
true.
day and cup of coffee.
yeah, they
that's
get
right.
to stay, and they get to stay later, a late night snack. I don't like that part. I don't like the inference there. They're there at 1 a.m. What correcting
Well,
all
they
the
have to
For the
be.
snow day.
yeah,
Yeah,
correcting all
they-
the issues made by the snow day. So
They did. CrowdStrike did have to admit that this was their error too. They said that this was a bug in their patch.
right.
So
No-
because there was a
there's no
moment when
cyber
everyone
attack.
was blaming Microsoft, right? Like, in fact, Elon Musk went on his stupid social media site to laugh at Microsoft, and it turns out that this was just CrowdStrike.
And here's the kicker to this story. This is the best part of the story. You think it's already good. Here's the even better part. Several recipients encountered an error message when trying to make use of their voucher, which said that it had been canceled by the issuing party and were no longer valid.
Yeah, that's
A,
right.
a CrowdStrike spokesperson.
That's right. That's amazing.
Who is this spokesperson? A CrowdStrike spokesperson said Uber had blocked the cards after high usage rates triggered a fraud alert.
Right. There you
So they
go.
couldn't even get the voucher right. Couldn't even get it right.
People got their vouchers and immediately ordered something on Uber Eats.
Yeah, that was fast because they
Sad.
were actually worried that the vouchers might
Yeah.
fail.
I think
and
you
then
can
they
get
did.
I think you can get half a latte at Starbucks for $10,
Oh my god!
right?
Somebody
or maybe
had
a third.
this
maybe a
idea.
third.
I'm sure somebody had to like fight hard to get the money for this.
Yeah, well, it is
Crazy.
a dual class company, and the founder owns 20% of the company and of the voting power, and the other 10% is owned by the private equity venture capital firm that
Yeah,
basically funded
George
the company.
Kurtz is the current CEO and founder. Yeah.
So you are talking about a company that the employees would have had to go to Kurtz and be like, we got to do something. You got to send something. And
Mm-hmm.
they were like, what about a gift basket? And he's like, no, too difficult. They're like,
so
how
1994.
about
yeah.
$10 at Uber Eats?
Aw.
$10 at Uber Eats gets you the fee to get the Uber Eats to
I was
your
gonna
house.
say, does that include the service charge, the tip,
No,
all
of
that
course
stuff?
not. That is the service charge is like $7.99. You basically can get something for $2.
Wow, what a
It's
disaster.
amazing.
Congratulations, CrowdStrike, for just
All right,
staying
so you're-
staying relevant in our show.
Your options this week are it's just Kamala Harris.
Of course,
And then the Murdoch Empire drama, Boeing pleading guilty to fraud, and CrowdStrike's $10 apology.
I'll go first.
That didn't work.
Failed $10 apology.
I think Boeing pleading guilty to fraud.
Wow.
Really?
Over
Wow.
So
Kamala.
out there in our world.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
This is a
Um,
tough one.
No, it's not. It's Kamala Harris.
It is. I agree, but it should be Boeing pleading guilty to fraud.
That is
I mean,
crazy.
fraud.
The CEO
That's
of the United
crazy.
States of America just announced they're stepping down in 2025,
I know.
despite the
That's
fact
also
that they could
crazy.
stay there, and
Yeah.
they are offering up
Touche.
basically
Wait, yeah.
a DEI candidate, which is what the conservatives have already been talking about. That this is a DEI candidate. That this is
Which now we know is code. Which now we know is
transition of all
code for
time.
black. Now we know is code for black or woman because
Or
her
unqualified.
she's
in their
she's
minds.
she's crazy qualified.
I
mean,
know. It's
I mean, you
crazy.
I couldn't think of another person right now who would want to run this country other than Elizabeth Warren. But I'm a liberal from New England.
Oh.
So,
Oh my God, you socialist!
Chantal, what's your vote on this one?
I mean, obviously, I'm covering Harris, so I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But for the purpose
Uh-oh.
of what we've talked about, I would say Boeing with Ari.
Oh, no.
no!
Wait, I'm vetoing. I'm vetoing. Can I veto their votes?
That's right.
That doesn't exist.
You can veto.
You guys are you're nuts. I mean, I
All
appreciate
right.
what you're saying, Chantal, and you're right in any other week. But come on, I mean, what are we doing here?
Moving on to goodly.
Wait,
stuff
you're
of the
moving me on?
Yeah,
Okay,
you
fine.
just got played off.
Fine. The winner is Kamala Harris. That's the story of the week.
week. Right. So let me open up goodliest of the week by saying that is obviously the goodliest of the week. However, I pulled
These
four
are s-
other stories.
So
that
this
you're
is
gonna
sub
vote on.
goodliest.
Yep.
Okay, sub goodliest of the week.
And we're going to start with this one that I hope you guys care about just as much as I do.
I'm just mad at you. for
Stanley
voting for
Black
Bowen.
and Decker, which is based here in Connecticut, actually,
Hmm.
to sell leaf blower silencer designed by
Oh.
four engineering students.
Yes.
Covered this.
Best
Come
news ever.
on, this is the best news for people in the suburbs.
Yeah.
4 engineering students at Johns Hopkins.
we did
they
cover this.
created this module for leaf blowers that reduce noise pollution by 37%.
That's it. 37% is not enough.
That is over a third, and that is a lot.
No, we need more than
They
that.
completely removed the high-pitched sound that annoyed them the most. They started with the leaf blowers on their campus that they hate.
Yeah, that's
Hey.
why they did it, because it
That's
was
why they did
waking
it.
them up at like 8 in the morning.
Yep.
Hey Stanley, how about you just convert completely to battery powered leaf blowers, and then this problem's solved. Those though they make no
They're
noise.
still loud. No, the amazing.
Are they really? Are they that
yeah,
loud?
they're not as loud, but they're still loud. The amazing part about this is that it's literally like a little cone.
Uh-huh.
Like it's nothing. Like they invented like a piece of plastic that's like
So cool.
3 inches long. Like it's not that, and it's worked so well that Stanley Black and Decker bought them out.
It's getting patented, and they're going to start selling it to the market by 2025.
Oh, you
All
know
right.
you're right.
I like
Matt.
this, but this is an old story.
Yeah,
What?
you know you're right, Matt. Though I'm surprised by this. So gas powered leaf blowers about 80 to 90 decibels. Electric model is about 65
You've got
to
to wear
70.
ear protection.
So it's still bad.
You know, my
they're
ears are
bad.
shot.
How about
Years
this?
At playing CBGBs. My
I
ears
have
are
a
shot.
novel idea. If this company ever were to fail, which won't ever happen,
Yeah.
what about let's invent a company and let's invent a tool called like a rake, almost like a giant fork, right? With a think of a fork,
Wow.
multiply the size of that fork by like 100 in your head, and then use that to
Revolutionary.
like scoop up the leaves. We can,
No.
actually, I can invent a verb too. How about you could rake the leaves with the rake, right? How about that?
I am
Extra
little
I'm going to-
exercise.
I'm going to invent something on top of
Be
your invention.
outdoors.
It's called a rake silencer.
How about
All
a
right, moving
Damien
on.
silencer? Yeah.
Chase, this is Chase Bank, to bar customers from using credit cards to pay to you. Let me restart.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Chase to bar customers from using credit cards for pay later loans. This
Why
is
is that
the
good?
nation's largest credit card issuer, and they will no longer allow. I guess that's what was happening. Their customers were using
It's really
their credit
unbelievable.
cards to pay payments on a different credit line.
Sounds like an Escher drawing. I don't really understand. like
It
what?
really is.
Personal Ponzi scheme.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. You
Anyway,
Ponzi'd yourself.
They have said no more as of October.
Well,
Not
look,
now.
again.
Don't get crazy.
Again, buy the rake and save yourself some money, right? I mean, what are we doing here, people?
Next, U.S. solar production soars by 25% in just 1 year.
I like this one.
I like this
And
one a
may
lot.
I add,
Does that mean it was hotter out?
25% in the first 5 months of the year.
Okay.
No, it means that construction of solar plants have boomed in the U.S. And they all came online at the end of last year. So the Energy of Information Agency, the EIA, they're predicting that solar production could rise by as much as 42% by the end of 2024.
Finally, we can power all
Finally.
the needs
We
of the
made it
Silicon
cheap.
Valley
We have
bros,
a ton
all
of
the
money. We're
AI.
throwing money. They're building plants.
Roughly
We're
how
doing the
long does
thing.
it take to
Farms.
build a solar plant? Oh, like a solar
farm?
Yeah.
I mean, they did this.
Like 2 years.
No, way faster.
You can do that faster?
Yeah.
I'm
They were
just
doing
wondering
this in
because
like 6 months.
I'm trying to figure out like Biden starts as president,
Yep.
passes the infrastructure bill, there's money to do solar,
Yep.
and then lo and behold,
They're doing solar.
there's solar
Yep.
and
What a concept.
and the production rises by 42% by
Yep.
the end of 2024.
And they're saying solar and wind deployments of these new projects, because of this money, they're expected to dwarf any other energy project through this year and next year. So,
I mean, it's
Unless
almost like
Vance and Trump
magic.
get elected.
It's a-
Don't say those
this
words.
is the crazy
Chantal.
part, though, because the biggest beneficiaries of the renewables are
Don't say Texas.
it is Texas, Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and heavily conservative states who are legislating
Yeah, that's what's nuts about it.
discrimination against
Absolutely
fossil
nuts.
fuels. They're making all the money from these solar plants.
Yeah,
right?
they
Like, that's where all the
they
sun
created a
is.
culture war over this very sort of simple subject, and
they
yet
should
they're
just
benefiting
own
from the
it. They should
No.
take back the renewable energy and somehow make it conservative.
That would be fine.
They should just
I'd be okay with that.
take
Make
it.
the sun
they-
American again.
Yeah.
Yes, I like
Yeah.
this. I like this.
Yeah. Fuck you, France.
Can we put
It's our sun.
Could we drape a giant flag over the sun that won't burn? Is that possible? What they got to
Yeah,
work on
it's-
that at University of Texas.
Mostly, I think we should.
We can make
need
a
to-
giant funnel and take all the solar rays.
Yeah. See, yeah, again, another use for a funnel, right? To
a
quiet a leaf
solar s-
blower,
a
to
solar
calm the sun.
silencer. Yeah.
All right, and I got one more that I just snuck in there.
All right.
Microsoft's World of Warcraft workers vote to unionize.
Okay.
This adds more than 500 workers to the total unionized Microsoft employees. Well,
Okay.
it's owned by Microsoft, but this is a big deal because when Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard for $69 billion, they promised regulators that they would remain neutral on organizing efforts.
Promised. They promised.
Yeah, they did.
Okay. Nothing in writing. No. Yeah.
That was the deal.
No, they spit into their hands and
Oh,
then shook
well.
them.
Blah
So-
blah blah.
So they voted, 500 workers voted to unionize. We'll see how this plays out, but this would bring the total to more than 1,700 workers, according to the Communications Workers of America.
Okay.
And
You know who loves this story? Bobby Kotick.
oh,
That
that's
guy
right.
loves this story because he sold, and he's a billionaire thanks to Microsoft, and he does not have to deal with the unions.
I
at
think.
all.
I mean, this is a huge deal. These are white collar workers unionizing, right? In video games, they make a
You
lot
love
of money.
white collars.
And what do you mean?
Yeah, I think he's talking about Miles's sartorial choices.
I will say that, and I like this story, Ari, but that you
What's the but?
You might have missed.
There's a but, yeah.
This is news, I think, from this morning or yesterday. But the SAG-AFTRA part of the Screen Actors Guild is are video game performers, right? The actors who voice
Uh-huh.
video games. Representing 100, the union represents 160,000 of these performers, I believe.
You
They
need
are
that
also-
many performers for
Honestly,
video
what am
games?
I doing with my life?
Are
they
you
are
kidding
they
me?
voted to go on strike beginning today because they are angry about the future of generative AI. So this is just breaking out of SAG-AFTRA. So there's a
I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
don't understand what that has to do with my story other than
well, what do you
more
mean?
video-
It's more people in the video game world going on strike. How dare you?
okay.
You're just mad that the number's bigger. You're just mad.
Trying to one up me over here.
Why don't we just include all those stories and say that gamer nerdy types are going on strike?
How about we don't vote for that one anyway because it's the weakest of the
All right.
group. Because
The performance people are upset that their jobs can be done by AI. That is just bananas.
So you're not supporting that strike.
I am not supporting them.
wow.
Well,
yeah,
we're going to
their
replace you
jobs
soon.
should be done by AI.
You all are pointless. That's what Ari.
Anyone wanna
the
vote
data
on
queen
this?
Says. Yeah,
And
I'm
there's
voting.
so many of them too. Are you kidding
Let
me?
let
And
Chantal take over. This is going off rails.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
as a
you two.
suburbanite, or am I starting to vote?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
start
go
the
ahead.
vote.
Go ahead.
hmm As a suburbanite, I have to go with the leaf blower story.
Heck
Well,
yeah.
I'm really torn between leaf blower and solar
This
production.
is a huge problem in your street.
Yeah, I mean,
You guys
don't
should
out
mandate
Matt.
that everyone in your street needs to be using
but
this.
I don't care about it.
It's so loud.
Doesn't
I
bother
told
you?
Very
I-
unpleasant street.
I
Matt
was
lives
on stage at CBGB's and the Continental and the
Oh,
Lions.
so you're already
Den, and
deaf.
I'm
You're already deaf.
I'm like, can't
I was
hear
telling my
anything
kids.
anyway.
You know, it's funny. I just yesterday I had to tell my kids like I grew up. I'm a Gen Xer, just like Matt's describing. I'm deaf. Like the music
done.
was so unbelievably loud for 20 years of my life.
I'm
I don't
not
know
ki-
what's going on.
We would go to concerts and we'd be in the front moshing.
No,
and the
nothing in our
speakers
ears.
Are nothing
Yeah.
in your ears. You barely had anything on your feet. Like it was so loud.
I
then
bring
you would
earplugs
leave-
to concerts.
And then you would leave and put your headphones up to like volume 15 because
Yeah.
you can't because at
On your
10 it was too
Walkman.
muted. Yeah.
On the Walkman. And what I like about that story is not the sound part of it. It is
Mm-hmm.
that 4 students made a cone that they could sell to Black
Are you
and
agreeing
Decker
with
'cause they-
Chantal? Is that your vote
No, I am voting
No.
for U.S. solar production. I'm voting for the one that matters. Like the other ones only kind of matter.
Ears matter.
I
No, the other ones
appreciate
moderately matter. Solar production is big.
I certainly appreciate what Chantal is saying, although I mean I don't want Chantal to out her family, but I wonder, like, do they use rakes? I mean, they could. I mean, I know I was joking about
I'll
rakes,
have you
but
know, we
Yeah.
use an old-fashioned lawnmower that has to be pushed.
A
gas.
Allow,
A gas-powered?
a loud
No,
pushy
no.
motor.
No.
No.
Oh, you
a
use the
mower
actual
that
r-
you have to run with.
Oh, like
cuts the blades of grass.
Yeah. Oh, wow. All right.
Chantal, that's
where-
beautiful.
the audience likes that too. The little
That-
blades.
because we don't
Yeah.
need any of this nonsense if we just. I don't know. We don't even need the obesity drugs if we just all like push the lawnmower and raked our own leaves. But that's a whole nother diatribe. I'm gonna. I gotta. Sorry. I love creating ties, but I gotta agree with Matt. Any renewable energy source at all, any uptick, and you're right. You're smart to point out too that this is something that Biden accomplished, and that he's handing off to a woman. Hopefully that isn't she even more to the left of Joe on climate causes? She's actually might even do more.
Climate, she may be
climate.
more left, but on most other things, she's actually very much a centrist. I like
But
her.
this is hopefully a good sign of things to come. So there you go. I'm going to vote for that one too.
That's the winner,
I'm excited.
obviously, which brings us to.
Gen Z of the week.
Oh, see, I was doing like Gen Z-ist. But
Gen
That's
you're
the
right,
title.
it's Gen Z-ist. It's
No.
right.
Gen Z-ist, no?
Yeah.
Well, that's
you
what
have to
I
have the
said.
double E.
It doesn't
Yeah.
need the double
I
E?
guess because you
It needs the double E.
Gen
Mhm.
Z-ist.
I'm copying Ari's Goodliest.
Okay,
Oh.
I like it.
All right, what do we
Okay,
got?
so starting up with a short one and a little bit of throw a bone to the Elon Musk lovers and haters
No.
of the world.
Oh no.
There are no lovers.
So just the haters.
There's
Elon
just
Musk
Stockholm Syndrome and haters.
and those who escape the Stockholm Syndrome and cut all legal and relational ties with their father. Elon
Oh.
Musk's transgender daughter says he was an absent and cruel father.
Ooh.
And I'm glad that they're speaking out
Shocking.
about it. Yeah, a
Cruel.
fellow.
No one's gonna have a hard time believing that.
Nope.
Yeah, but I thought it was cool. Jenna Wilson, a 20-year-old Gen Zer, fellow Gen Zer, talked about Musk and kind of put to rest some of his fake news that he's put out there about not knowing about the medical forms. It relates to the California legislation we saw last week. Musk has claimed to not know anything about Wilson's, medical needs when going transgender, and Wilson has then spoken out and, put it all to rest.
Yeah. This story is stupid and sad.
It's
Yeah.
sad for sure. Yeah.
Glad
It is amazing how much. I mean, I thought somebody would grab an Elon Musk story this week. It is amazing.
I
how
almost did.
How many stories
there was
he
a lot of
generates.
stories this week, and
I almost
just
don't
skipped
even
them.
understand it anymore. Like I don't even know why because I don't know if you mentioned this, Chantal. I'm sorry, but the reason he was using to move, is it SpaceX or is it Twitter?
Yeah. I think it's
So
SpaceX to Texas because of the California legislation.
Right. I mean, what a bananas thought to shareholders that's the reason. I mean, that alone should disqualify you from being CEO, right? Like, that's the
Of
reason
5 companies.
you're
yeah.
moving a corporate entity to another state because of your one just bizarre political view on one social issue. Like, and this is the guy who has preached to all of us that CEOs should not be involved with social and political issues. Like, this is not
No, he's
not
the
an
biggest
acceptable.
hypocrite.
He is, and this is not an acceptable reason to move a corporate entity. Just yet another reason why
Are
any
his
shareholder
days
supporting this
counted?
guy is crazy. It's
but
just
it's-
crazy to me.
It's all shareholders. He won 77% or 74% of the pay vote. They won by
The
a
Tesla vote,
landslide,
right.
getting Tesla to Texas. They re-elected Kimball Musk and James Murdoch. No one cares. Like no one. So him moving to Texas, what do
you
they
know who
care?
does
No
care?
one cares. They just make me money. That's all it is.
Except that who does care are the other Tesla customers, right? The sales
the
are
employees.
plummeting. Yeah,
Yeah.
the sales, at least in California, especially, the sales are plummeting for Tesla cars.
Ari and I covered earlier this week that Musk said in the last earnings call, I think it was the earnings call, he said their expectation is to use humanoid robots to build the Teslas by 2025. And my
that'll
my
happen.
cheeky guess is they don't mind swastikas drawn on the bathroom wall. So
Oh.
that's how you're.
That would be a
that's what we're
woke
talking about.
Robot, yeah, that minded that.
Woke
yeah.
robots don't exist
Yeah.
yet. So
Okay,
Killed by the woke mind virus.
exactly.
yeah.
The second headline goes outside of the U.S. though. Daily Mail says that Labor says Tory law against cancel culture is at work, and universities could be taxed because woke culture is a burden.
Wait,
So
it could be taxed?
They're taxing woke culture.
Wait,
Wait.
explain this story.
axed.
Axed.
Oh,
I thought that
axed.
was a mistypo, but
Yeah.
yes, no, axed.
Yeah, and I'll let you finish, but what we are seeing a lot of this, right? We're seeing that a lot of the anti-woke legislation. We just saw this, I think, in Texas. No, was it maybe Oklahoma or Texas?
Oklahoma.
That,
It was Oklahoma.
that the laws that they're creating are so annoying and dumb and burdensome and costly that they're not even worth it in the first place. I think that's kind of what you're saying here, Chantal.
Yeah, no, exactly. My question just with this headline was how would this be enforced?
Well, that's been the problem with all of these things. Like all of the anti-ESG, anti-woke, anti-DEI stuff is basically trying to say if you can't discriminate on you're discriminating on race by having like a committee to help black people, but that means you're discriminating against political ideologies. So we're going to protect those. But then in reality, it's like, yeah, that's not enforcing. That's not really a thing. Like you can't, like, first of all, it's not a marginalized community. Second of all, like, it's not, you can't
That's the
enforce
important thing that they're missing, of course. Yeah.
So yeah, none of these are really enforceable. And Oklahoma, the federal judge, I think, just basically gave a permanent stay to the anti-ESG legislation in
Well,
Oklahoma.
I don't remember the language, but there was a federal group, that said that basically it was a threat to national security. These anti-ESG laws were a threat to national security, essentially.
Well, I'm
right?
coming to that in the
Okay, you are.
assholes.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so moving on to the story I stole from Damien. I'm
Yes, I
talking
love
about
it.
how
Steal.
Harris campaign joins TikTok after Biden signed ban. Fox headline.
Ooh.
I wonder why she didn't join as VP.
She wasn't campaigning for anything.
You gotta campaign as VP. You gotta help get reelected.
She saw the future. So yeah, so already presidential foresight there. But obviously interesting with the comparison. Fox mentions later that Trump, as president, did issue the executive order to ban TikTok.
Right.
That was then challenged in court, and also covered how he has since reversed his position, saying that there are a lot of people on TikTok that love it, and that if the app were banned, Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg, his mortal enemy, would benefit. And according to him, an enemy of the people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's correct.
Wait. Explain to me. I don't want to go too deep here on TikTok. I know, but I'm about to. What is the Brat Summer, Chantal?
Well, that is what the Washington Post has been asking all week.
Yeah.
So basically, there are all these edits on TikTok and on
Chantal
every
just called me
social.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like you have to be chronically online to understand it a little bit. But I guess it's gone really viral, so it's hitting a wide audience. But Brat Summer, Charlie XCX, pop icon right now, really popular album debuting among Gen Z. It's called Brat. She's actually the one who did the music for Barbie, the Barbie movie.
Okay.
And they're making a lot of edits about Kamala Harris in her
Love
famous
it.
line, "You think you
Yeah.
just fell out of a coconut tree.
Okay.
You exist in the context of all that came before you."
Beautiful.
Because it's just a little silly, and it gains a wide viewership because it's just so chaotic and crazy. And Charlie XCX has officially endorsed Kamala Harris and her campaign. So all the Charlie XCX
Wait,
fans,
somebody explain who that is.
the
So-
pop icon.
Yeah, that's. I'm just kidding. I still don't. I don't care about these people.
Well,
Uh-huh.
you should care because finally we found a good use for TikTok, which is to help elect the
There-
first female president of the United States. That's
Incorrect.
When
incredible.
There
is
is
Taylor
no good.
Swift gonna endorse Kamala Harris?
Yeah, tell us, Chantal, when
Girl power.
when will Taylor Swift endorse?
No, when will
Chantal?
Travis Kelsey? That's the real question.
And Chantal, have you been to a Taylor Swift show?
I have when I was in 7th grade.
Oh, so you're an
Oh.
old school. Okay, so you're
an
out-
old-
you're
you're
I
out
like
of the
her
game
old
now.
stuff.
You're like an
Yeah.
ancient Swiftie. Oh, you like her old
Uh-huh.
stuff.
But can you
you see how
please-
it happens? Do you
Yeah.
see how it happens? That's how everybody like. We're here saying like Taylor Swift is just the next version of somebody else when we were Alanis Morissette or
Madonna.
whatever. And even Chantal is like, yeah, I like Taylor Swift, but I like her old stuff.
Yeah,
Her
yeah.
new
Back
stuff's
in the
shit.
day.
Back
This
in the
is why
day,
my
she
little
was
brothers
good.
are kicking me out of Gen Z.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Chantal, I do want you to answer one thing though. Seriously, when will Taylor endorse Kamala? Do you know? Do you have that information?
October.
Okay.
There-
Month
oh, yeah,
before the
why-
election.
I think you're right. Why blow it now? Let's
I
get
agree.
some buzz going right before the election. I like that.
But she has to go with the girl power.
Yeah.
She's busy touring. All right, so your three
Mhm.
Gen Z-est stories are.
Wait, is she done? You cutting her off? Are you done, Chantal?
thought
Yeah,
that
I
was
mean,
it.
got a little bit more to say.
Yeah,
Well,
let her
say
say
more.
it. Let her say it, man. Dare
Well,
you.
basically, this is a huge story because 170 million users of TikTok are American, and more
170
than
million.
170
That's-
million
That's half the country. That's crazy. Yeah. It's a crazy number.
genuinely,
Yeah.
and more than a third use the app to keep up with politics,
Great.
which is way more than
That's not
Facebook or
scary.
Instagram or any other type of social media. So
It's not scary at
TikTok
all.
is the political influence app. You
Yeah.
know,
Wow.
Harris, Biden, Trump. Actually, I don't think that Biden has an account, but Harris and Trump both have an account because it's a political necessity
Mhm.
right
It'd
now.
be funny if Biden had an account while
Biden
he's
does
trying to
have an
ban it.
account. There was
Does
he?
stories about stories about he joined, but like did one post where he ate a cookie or something.
It sounds like
Oh,
our
God.
sounds like our guy.
Which
it
is
literally is our social accounts. Yeah.
uh-huh. Well, I mean, Trump's first post on it included a UFC title fighter. So
Really?
yeah,
Yeah.
genuinely,
Dana
it has
White.
it has
Good
over
for him.
164 million views on the app.
Mhm.
Whereas Kamala Harris, currently her first video has 10 million, but that was posted 16 hours ago. So I'd say that's a pretty good viewership.
Yeah.
Wow.
Something tells me this. I know we're joking about it, but this is an important part of this campaign. I mean, her
Mm-hmm.
right, her relevance to young people and all this.
Yeah,
all this
She's-
and
yeah.
Gen Z content creators have been the focus of both the Democratic and Republican parties. They're inviting them to the White House. They're inviting them to news briefings of Russia's invasion on Ukraine. They're invited to the RNC convention. They're being paid to be influencers for the platform.
So, why is our audience
Literally
buzzing us so
daggers
much?
to my heart.
Can I will say this though. I said this to somebody a few days ago that what Kamala does represent for young people is what they missed out on during the first Obama election, right? This
Yeah.
just this goodwill, this feeling of joy and hope back in 2008. It can now kind of be recreated for them having the
That
first.
hasn't
you know,
existed since.
no, it hasn't. You're right, but
Right.
it was such an
Since
important
2016.
moment. It's an important moment of our lives that I'm sure young people probably some feel envious that they missed out on. Then this is their chance to get the first woman in the White House. So Matt,
great.
you're
You don't need
you're
TikTok for
shrugging, but I wouldn't underestimate the
I mean,
power this could
that has
have.
nothing to do with TikTok. The latest poll showed that 18 to 34-year-olds favor Kamala Harris 60 to 40.
That's
Oh,
it.
that's too
Come on, we gotta get
close.
that higher.
That's
Come on.
that's actually a really big gap considering they favored Trump over Biden, right? So this is a big
Is-
it's a
Swung
big
back
deal.
Is
very
that
quickly.
true?
Yeah,
Really?
they were. But,
Oh.
Trump was like slightly favored
By
in
young
most
people?
polls by young people.
Oy
including
vey.
I
by
think it's
young
just
people.
because a lot of young people refrained from supporting Biden.
Right.
I think if push had come to shove, more young people would have voted Biden, but no one was happy with him.
But the
Yeah.
likelihood is they probably wouldn't have actually shown up to vote.
No, they wouldn't
right?
have. They wouldn't
Like,
have voted. Absolutely not.
So now they're likely to show up to vote just because it's Kamala. What do you fucking need TikTok for? Do we need that? Can we get rid of that?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like the TikTok influencers are doing it before her even. So Brat Summer.
Right.
All right, Brett Summer.
I'm so
Come on.
confused.
I
All
think
right,
Matt's
let's
not
vote.
voting for that one.
I'm not voting for that. I hate
Let's
it.
vote. What do we have?
All
But
right,
it is
so
very Gen Z. It's remember, this is a Gen Z-ist.
That's correct. That's why I hate it.
Uh-huh.
Elon Musk's transgender daughter disowns
Ugh,
him.
I can't vote for that. I can't
The
vote for that.
Labor says a Tory law against cancel culture is going to be axed because it's actually stupid and a problem.
I like that
and,
one.
And Harris is on TikTok. Kamala Harris is on TikTok.
I like that one too.
Ari, you go first.
I'll go first. Yeah, I think the one that affects Gen Z the most
Gen Z
right now is Harris going on TikTok.
Future
yeah.
president Kamala
Take
Harris.
Damien, just
Taking
make
the
it make
campaign
it a
to
sweep
TikTok.
of that.
I mean,
so
come
that I
on, it
don't
has
have
to be
vote.
that story. It has to be.
All right,
Yeah.
now I'm not going to vote because I hate
Anything,
them.
but really anything with Kamala, it should be anyway because it's a happy week for once
All
because of
right,
her.
why don't you tell us the jerks this week, man?
All right, good. I have less than most weeks.
Oh,
Oh, good.
It was hard.
that's a signal.
Here's some data. There are just 3 banks in this state that are publicly traded and stuck in the state because this is their state of incorporation. There's like nowhere else to go,
Okay.
leaving 171.
Which state? Connecticut?
I'm going to get there.
Oh.
171 publicly traded U.S. banks that can just leave the state if they wanted
Uh-huh.
to.
Okay.
171. They could just leave, just close your branch. You got business everywhere else. So you don't have to be there. There is one insurer in the state that is publicly traded, leaving 41 other insurers in the United States that can just stop insuring there, right? Like they're not there. They don't have
Okay.
to insure there,
I'm a
whatever.
little confused so far.
Here's
Yep.
the headline. The Treasury Department warns that an anti-woke Florida banking law is a national security risk.
Right.
And your second headline is another home insurance company is getting out of Florida.
Wow.
Oh.
Your asshole is anyone staying in Florida.
Anyone, just anybody.
Anybody. You live there? Why? Why do you
What
live
about an
there?
alligator? What are
But
you mad
look,
at them?
If you are, I would be mad at it. Alligators probably have better places to go. Like try
Yeah,
Louisiana.
go to Barbados. Come on.
Look, there are 3 banks and 1 insurer that have an excuse why they are not going to leave Florida because that's their state of incorporation.
I see what you're saying. Got
That
it.
means there are 171 and 41 insurers, respectively, that can just leave this stupid state that debanked itself. They set up a law. The law said that banks are no longer allowed to consider anything political in their lending, including political speech, political, quote, leans, or political, quote, affiliations. You know what that includes? If you're a member of ISIS,
Yeah.
that is a political
Sure.
affiliation, right?
Absolutely.
It also contravenes federal regulations that say you can't lend to certain
Right.
like terrorist groups
Yeah.
Right.
or sanctioned individuals, all that kind of stuff. So the banks in Florida now have a choice to make. They either lend to those groups and comply with Florida's laws, or don't lend to those groups and risk getting sued by a terrorist for not getting a loan. It's absolutely insane.
There was no need for them to do this.
It was the dumbest. It was purely
It's all DeSantis,
political
right? It's all
kabuki
DeSantis.
theater. It's all DeSantis.
Opened them up to huge
Meatball.
liability.
Oh, pudding
Meatball
fingers.
run.
Meatball run, yeah.
Meanwhile, insurers can't consider climate change in their underwriting.
That makes no sense.
That's
Robert
the worst.
Well,
That's
climate
the
change
worst
has
ever.
already been banned in Florida as politicians talk.
Yeah.
Exactly. They can't
That's
say
the
the word
stupidest
climate
one
change.
ever, that one. Yeah.
Which means that, and simultaneously, by legislation, they actually cap the amount that insurers can raise their rates. So they have said, don't consider climate change and also don't raise your rates. So what can an insurer do
And it-
except what the headline says, which is just leave? There's
Doesn't-
And this is-
nothing else to do.
Doesn't sound very business friendly.
Not that I need to point this out to anyone, but this is also not South Dakota, right? This is Florida. Florida is in the heart of the hurricane activity in the United States, and it's surrounded by water on all sides. I mean, this is just.
Yeah.
It is the state that you would want to consider climate change for everything you do. It is the state where it is the most important.
So here's my question. what are the 171 other banks and 41 other insurance companies even thinking about doing there? I mean, what is it anyone thinking about staying in Florida for?
I don't know. Dwayne Wade left, right? He
If
took
you
his
buy
family
a
out.
house,
That
you
was cool.
cannot insure it. You can get a loan, but you might not. Like banks are just going to have to. They can't. They're going to be too afraid to lend to you because everyone's a national security risk now because they don't know. They can't collect any information on you. Like, what can you even do there? Like, you get low
Go
taxes.
to the beach.
You go to the beach and you have low taxes.
There are other beaches, Chantal.
You also have no job.
Cape
or
Cod has
home.
beaches.
Get out of Florida. Anyone in
All right,
Florida,
okay.
You're an asshole.
I
Number-
agree.
Number two.
Even if you're a listener to our show and you live in Florida, you're still an asshole. Sorry.
Number two is a rehash of a different asshole of the week, but it's still the same asshole of the week. I'm just going to
Either
read the
Musk or
headline.
Boeing. Yeah.
We don't even need data, but I have it. The headline is Boeing pleads guilty to fraud in fatal 737 MAX crash, is fined $243.6 million.
Pleads
The asshole,
guilty to fraud.
the asshole is investors.
Yeah.
77% for vote for the CEO and chair, Dave Calhoun. He's been there for 15 years. He's been instrumental in both. He was on the board that greenlit the planes that crashed, and he stayed on the board and been CEO since the crashes. That guy
Still
is
there.
a fraudster.
That makes
You
no
just said
sense.
fraud. Two of the longest tenure-
Legally speaking, you're correct. He is.
That's correct.
Yes.
He was legally convicted of. He's pleaded to fraud
Under his watch.
88% and 86% votes for the two longest tenured directors. Otherwise, and here's the worst part to me: on news that they pled guilty to fraud and fined $244 million. The stock jumped 2% that day. On
What?
news that they were guilty.
Okay.
So investors are paying $244 million to the government because Boeing committed fraud. The investors are paying that money. They own the company. The people who made the decisions that cost that money have kept their jobs. They get voted in by those investors. Not only that, their options are worth 2% more after pleading guilty for fraud.
Boo.
You fucking idiot investors. When are you going to realize that the people who run the companies actually matter and you can replace them? Stop fucking around and vote out idiots like Dave Calhoun. Don't use your ESG skeptic policy to tell me like this is too much G for you. There's too much governance for you. Vote them out. They are convicted fraudsters now.
They
Everyone.
Don't
have
forget.
the power.
Yeah, and let's not forget this very simple premise with current CEO and board member Dave Calhoun that we screamed about for many shows is that you could have he wasn't, if you had voted him out this year at the 2024 AGM, he would still be CEO. You're not disrupting the entire company. You're just taking him off the board. That they couldn't even remove him from the board.
That's sad.
To me, right? I mean, that's beyond me. Why does he need to sit on an oversight board overseeing himself as he perpetuates fraud? And
Overseeing himself failing.
Yes.
Right? It's crazy that shareholders need this to keep happening.
And we've been saying this on this show since 2019. We've had data showing how connected this board is. We've shown poor performance for the entire board. There's no stone left unturned by Free Float about Boeing at this point when it comes to who's governing this company. And yet, you shouldn't need the data at all to say a guy convicted of fraud should not be your representative to run the company.
Yeah,
That's
and
what, that should
The
be that
takeaway
simple.
here is Americans need to learn how to vote.
It's
Yes.
unbelievable that you don't get, in fact, in a quarter of American companies, by free float data, slightly more than a quarter of American companies are actually totalitarian. One person controls the majority of the power or influence, either through dual class shares or shareholdings that they have, or family, or connections on the board, any number of ways you can sort of maintain control of a company. That means you only really get to vote at 75% of the companies that you might own, because it doesn't matter at the other 25% really at all. So exercise that vote, you morons. You should not 77% agree that a fraudster should stay there. You shouldn't agree on that. All right. that's the end of that rant.
I
and
don't
then
think
finally,
it is for today's show.
for today. And then finally, another one with no data. This guy's just an asshole.
Uh-huh.
The asshole
it's
is
not
Robbie
me.
Starbuck.
Oh, phew. I thought it was going to be me.
Is
Yeah.
that a real name?
If you don't know who Robbie Starbuck
I
is,
don't.
It's a terrible name.
you might recognize some of the music videos that he actually
Like what?
produced and directed. He was a director for music videos. He did it from like 2010 to 2017 or
Okay.
so, 2013 or so, something like that. But he did like Machine Gun Kelly, a
Uh-huh.
band
Okay.
Metric. There were some bands that I recognized on there, or groups that I recognized. Here's a headline: Harley Davidson sparks boycott call for going, quote, totally woke. Yeah, Harley Davidson. That's
Okay.
right.
Shouldn't laugh.
How did they go totally
Yeah,
wrong?
how? Do we have an
Robbie
example of that?
Starbuck is a conservative activist, increasingly an investment activist, who is behind Deere Company and Tractor Supply retracting their DEI commitments.
Mhm.
Okay.
And now he's targeting Harley Davidson. Apparently, everyone can just be Vivek now. They can just be a fucking blowhard and say some stuff, and people are listening to them because he edited Machine Gun Kelly's like music video. He has no credibility. He ran for a Tennessee senatorial position and lost.
So he has money.
He doesn't have a lot of money. He's
Enough.
just a fucking blowhard. And well,
A
credit where
hateful
credit is due.
blowhard. Yeah.
He is actually targeting brands that are typically used by rural and rural adjacent white people, right? Like Deere, Harley Davidson, Tractor
He's
Supply.
stoking hate to get these companies to listen
So
to
he's
him.
figured out like
He knows where to start.
the base is groups of large groups of white people who buy from companies that deal mostly with them. Any one of them that has a diversity officer, a DEI commitment, says
the
anything
Bud Light
about
effect.
inclusion,
Yeah.
he's going after them and saying, your customers don't want this. Effectively, he's telling these companies, your customers are all white racists. They don't want any of this
Oh, man.
bullshit. And they're listening
Because
to
of
him
because of Bud Light.
because of Bud Light, because
Right.
of Target.
That's why they're listening. That's why they're listening.
Meanwhile, Kamala Harris is the nominee. She raised $150 million in 3 days by a country that might actually be less racist than you think. So Robbie Starbuck, you are just a fucking turd. Just
Man.
stop it. Just
Yes.
stop it.
Do
Have you heard of
something
this?
else.
Kamala's presidency will fix all of this.
Chantal, have you heard of Robbie Starbuck?
Nope, not before
Okay.
today.
Never.
Good. That's good. See, there's good
Well,
news, Matt.
He's a conservative influencer and an idiot, right? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. Like, he exists in one bubble. But what he's doing is effectively changing companies. And that is the amazing part, because we here have been trying to use data to let like investors change companies with information. He just says, where are white people at and who's got a DEI policy? I'm going to say all the white people are racist. Actually, if you're a white person living in rural America and you're not a racist, you should get really angry at this
Yeah.
because
They're calling it.
he's using you to change the way companies work. It doesn't reflect what you think. So those are my assholes. You've got
Oh.
anyone staying in Florida, investors, and Robbie Starbuck
Wait,
Wow.
investors at Boeing.
at Boeing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Damien,
and
you
Robbie
start.
Starbuck. Oh man. I mean, just to keep it simple, I got to go with Robbie Starbuck. I mean, he's just.
That's a very pure asshole. It's like a
Darn.
guy who's an asshole.
Darn.
It's also just it's a shameful it's a shameful campaign. I mean and attacking, they're already attacking Kamala for either being black or being a woman, or they're referring to her as a DEI hire, which is absolutely ludicrous. It's just to find him to be a shameful schmuck, an asshole, real good asshole.
I agree. The
All right.
single standalone asshole this week.
Made it easy.
Chantal, what would your vote been?
I'm going to say Boeing. I say
Ooh.
the
Yeah.
investors need to learn how to vote.
Yes, I agree with
Chantal's only saying that.
Chantal's fair.
I'm not saying Chantal is wrong, but Chantal has not been on the show like Ari and I have to hear the 75
Boeing.
other rants against Boeing that Matt's already done.
Yeah,
so
this-
we're just tired of
This
it.
Starbucks
Hey,
guy.
I
that's
listened to the
refreshing.
podcast.
Starbucks is refreshing. It's refreshing to hear about a different asshole.
It made me want some lemonade from Starbucks.
How can
All right.
we? My question is this:
Move on.
as you play us out, of that. How can we be the Robbie Starbuck on our side of things? How can we achieve Robbie
It's a good
Starbuckism
question.
from the free flow perspective? If anyone has
It's a
an
good
idea, let
question.
me know. All right, move
Make
on.
a TikTok.
Okay.
Oh, I hate Chantal. You're
It's
fired.
gonna be me eating a cookie, Chantal. All right, what else? What
Do
is
you
it?
guys have your
Headliniest.
headliniest?
Ooh,
I do. I have one.
headliniest.
I did not see any.
I have one.
I have
Can I
two.
go?
You can choose one of mine.
All right, Damien, you start.
I'm starting because mine made me laugh. And I know this is really nerdy and stupid, and nobody cares about this but me. But I just thought the headline was funny as a concept. Okay, so
What
bear
is
with me.
it?
This is a bit of a theoretical idea here. The headline is Terex Corporation to acquire ESG for $2 billion.
Like what
Now, okay.
concept?
I know that ESG actually stands for it's a company called Environmental Solutions Group. But I just thought it was funny the idea of a company buying ESG, right? And that's
best
what's valued
part-
at $2
The
billion.
best part, when I read that headline, I fast read it as Texas to acquire ESG
Even
for
better.
$2 billion.
That's what Apple used to do. Apple used to buy some of my some great products. Like I remember they bought a music app I used to love called Groove Shark, I think, just to kill it. They didn't
Yeah.
even do anything with it. They just bought it because they couldn't compete with it. It was better coding than they could come up with. They just bought it to kill it. So that would be great if Texas bought
Bought
ESG just to kill it. That's my
All right,
stupid headline.
Ari, you go next. Pick the
Oh,
one you
I
like.
think this is so funny. I'm so glad I found it. Champagne sales down worldwide in 2024. Industry executives cite lack of cheer.
Oh,
How
That's sad.
Well,
That's the saddest
it's changing
headline.
now, though, right?
You know, like imagine that earnings call. Like our reporting sales are down 2.3% this year. Really, we think the headwind here is a lack of joy and cheer, right? Like
It's not us.
it's
It's
not,
the Prosecco.
It's the
It's the
people.
Prosecco.
there's been a real move to different alcohols
Yeah.
that bring on depression.
Some
We're-
hard bottom shelf stuff.
that is a good one.
Matt, yours
All right.
is easy. Matt, yours is the winner. I gotta say.
Here's mine. Mostly because the context of it after this.
But it's
is
the
fabulous.
just the pure headline itself to me is it's just amazing.
The headline is, "Can boneless wings include bones?" High Court weighs in.
I just love the idea of any Supreme Court weighing in on that idea.
Like that concept, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, it not only did the court weigh in, it was divided in a 4-3 opinion by Ohio's Supreme Court. The Supreme
Yeah.
Court in Ohio, they found that consumers should not expect boneless wings to be free of bones.
Wait, whoa. In a
Not
4-3
joking.
decision, they should say it again.
They said boneless wings should not be expected to have no bones in them.
What?
So boneless wings can have bones.
They found that
Why?
that the Ohio Supreme Court said boneless wings might have bones.
Wait, I
They
thought a
said
boneless
that-
wing is like a nugget or tender. What is a boneless
Well,
wing?
after a guest at a restaurant basically got a bone stuck in his throat from a boneless wing.
and he was
Sue.
like,
and he
"What
can't
the
sue
F?"
for that.
He sued. It went all the way to the Ohio
And they
Supreme
threw it
Court,
out?
who in a split decision decided that boneless
What?
wings can indeed have bones in them.
That's bananas.
Thus, not making them boneless.
And these are the
Doesn't that
same-
make the headline even better?
So
Not
these
only
are
are we
the
asking
same-
the question, but it's so dumb. The answer is the opposite of what you would think.
But these are the same red state Supreme Courts that they're throwing out like DEI committees, but yet boneless wings can have bones.
Well, they can.
That's
They
silly.
can because
That's
they
silly.
can't discriminate against
regulations.
bones. Yeah.
All right, winners.
Wait. Who won the headliniest?
Definitely the bones.
Yeah, the bones, right?
Bones.
I'm voting for mine.
That's
I like the idea of
ridiculous.
Terex buying
bones.
ESG. I like this one. I
The
like
bones
buying
won.
ESG.
You lost.
All right.
Bones win.
All right. That means we are on winners. Let's get out of the show. It's going on the third
It's a
hour.
long one
I
today.
want my winner first. Everybody else copied me.
I didn't have the same winner as anyone else.
All right, Damien.
How could we
Who's your
all?
winner?
How could there be any winner other than Kamala Harris or just the country? I don't know how we have another
Yeah.
winner other than that. That's my winner.
I really like that she broke the fundraising record for 24 hours in U.S. history with $81 million.
How can we raise that much in 24 hours?
Which
Can we
means
do
people
that?
have way too much money.
Well, Chantal, you had a slightly different winner.
Who you got?
The Democratic Party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the whole party.
I
Yeah.
think that we should all Yeah, we should all get ready for not only a really great candidacy, a really great campaign, but also some primetime entertainment because
Oh.
Harris is ready to debate.
Ooh.
I still don't
Hopefully
want to
on
watch that.
TikTok.
I will, but I don't want to see that.
I think it'll be a little cringy.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Alright,
definitely
who's your
cringy.
winner?
My winner was climate change
Oh.
because look, if you think about it, yes, Kamala Harris broke single day fundraising in history, but climate change broke the highest temperature record ever recorded,
Yeah.
and then the next day broke it again.
Oh,
Climate
that's
change is
not-
a very
that's
big
not
winner
Do you think
this week.
is that
I
because
don't like that.
is that because the money she raised was through like Bitcoin and all the Bitcoin farm servers were going crazy? Is that why?
It didn't say, but I do think
Okay.
climate change ends up the big winner this week. Predictions.
Predictions. I don't have a prediction this week.
What?
Mine
Nope.
is
Lazy.
that I think Kamala is going to start to win the hearts of not voters. I mean, I think she'll do that too, but CEOs. I think we're going to start to see some CEOs coming over to
CEO
Kamala.
love for Kamala?
Yeah, I think we're going to see some CEO love.
No,
love
I
some
think we
CEO
will. I
love.
think that's a boring prediction.
So
Chantal,
what?
Make a better prediction.
I just wanted to think of something else with Kamala. That's all.
Chantal, what's your prediction?
I want an old candidate to donate to Kamala. You know, I'm saying Bloomberg is going to give some
Wait.
of his massive billions of dollars to Kamala.
Wait, Chantal, didn't you have a
I know
Bloomberg
it's a
prediction?
kind of crazy out there.
Didn't you have a Bloomberg story or prediction last time too?
Maybe she has some insider knowledge.
Yeah, what's going
There was
on?
a
You're
Bloomberg
trying to get a
story
job at
last
Bloomberg,
time.
right? No, you,
I think that was Ari's.
no,
and
I
my
think that
mom
was
already
you,
worked
Chantal.
there. So.
Chantal's just
I don't
Trying-
trust Chantal anymore.
No, that
This is product placement. I think Chantal
I'm
is.
just sucking up to the billionaires.
Yeah, this is product placement.
look. This is how you get a job as a young.
That's
person.
true. That is true.
So,
yes.
congrats to Chantal for getting a job at Bloomberg.
Who will be working either at Bloomberg or TikTok when she graduates college?
My prediction is Kamala's win in
Ooh.
November.
I like this
Oh,
already.
Sparks. So, I'm
Yeah.
not predicting that Kamala's winning in November. She's winning in November.
Oh. Wait,
Her
what?
win in November sparks a sudden slate of black female CEOs at Fortune 500 companies.
Or Indian, right? She's half Indian.
I predict that at least 3 new black female CEOs
Wow.
are announced in 2025.
Wow.
Unfortunately, that's a
Fortune
huge
500
number for that universe. It's
Which
a
is
huge number.
monstrous number. That's a monster number. That's all we got. That is Ari the Data Queen, Chantal the Intern, Hazelnut Rollins,
25
Tom Mascardi. We are free float. Come back next week when I think we're actually all here all week for the
Yep.
first time this summer. We're going to do that. Oh, no.
I don't have
Ari,
childcare.
Ari's not here. She's next week.
Nice try.
No.
So not quite. But come back next week. We'll talk to you on Tuesday and maybe Thursday and maybe Friday. Until then, goodbye.